All right, sorry for the technical difficulties we're having. So anyway, not from Kameshwar Mandir is Pancha Pandav.
Today's lecture start from the beginning.
All right, so we'll start from the very beginning. Yesterday we ended at Kameshwar Mandir, so now we're going to go see some other places in Kamyavan mentioned in Mahabharata, because it describes in one of the parts of first canto that the Pandavas were in Kamyavan just before they went to Agyatvaas in Virat. So therefore, not far from Kameshwar temple, we find a temple of Pancha Pandavas. And this temple used to be all broken down. Half of the deities were stolen. I think Draupadi was there, Arjun wasn't there, Yudhishthira wasn't there, Nakul, Sahadev were there, Bhim was there. And there was a deity of Lord Braha, but only his feet were there. But my dear friend from Calcutta, Avadut Prabhu, he makes whatever money he earns, he spends it in Braj, very nice devotee. So he put nice Pancha Pandav deities there, beautiful stout deity of Lord Braha. So this to represent that the Pandavas stayed there in Kamyavan. And in front of the temple, they have a special room with 4 Shivalingas. Not one, but 4. One for each of the yugas. The big tall one, very ornate, is from Satyug. Then less tall and less ornate is Treta Yuga. Then there's a simple one for Dwapar Yuga, and even small, tiny one of Satyug. And there's some other figures whenever they dig around to build a new foundation, they always find these old deities. So there's most cutest Vamandev you ever saw, with his big fat belly and holding his umbrella. Very sweet deity of Vamandev is there that they found when they were excavating. So not far from here, we go through the fields, we come to a place called Dharamkund. And when the Pandavas were traveling, they came to Kamyavan, and they stayed at the ashram of some rishi. And while they were there, one deer came, and he was poking around the ashram, and somehow his antlers got stuck in the arani sticks, the sticks that one rubs together to start fire. And the staff of the poor rishi were caught in his antlers, and he was frightened and he ran away. So when the Pandavas heard him crying, they immediately ran to him. When they found out what happened, they began to pursue that deer. And although their arrows were infallible, come near that deer somehow or another, and it was just running like, and they chased it to this, not far from this place, and he disappeared, and they couldn't find him. But by now it was very hot, and they were very thirsty. So Yudhishthira told Nakula, "You climb the tree and see if there's water, or if you see those trees that grow where there's water." So Nakula climbed a tree, and he says, "Yes, not far. I see those type of trees that always grow where there's water. So quickly go and bring water." So Nakula came to this place, to this kund. He saw fresh, clear, crystal clear, cool water. He went down to drink, and a voice came. There was a bird called a crane standing near the kund. He said, "This kund belongs to me. Don't drink until you answer my questions." So Nakula thought, who's this guy to stop me from drinking? He drank the water and he died. So Yudhishthira became impatient. He was wondering what's going on. So he sent Sahadev, "You go find out what's taking Nakula so long." So Sahadev went there. He saw his brother lying dead, but he was so overcome with thirst. The senses are so strong. He just ran down to the water. The bird told him, "Don't drink. This kund belongs to me. You answer my question, then take as much water as you like." So who's going to stop me? He drank the water and he died. So then he sent Arjun, the great wielder of weapons, Arjun. Arjun went there, same thing. He saw his brothers, but he was so thirsty, he ran to drink water. Again the voice came that, "Don't drink this water, this kund belongs to me, answer my questions, and take as much as you like." He drank the water and he now Yudhishthira is wondering, Dhananjay, the great bringer of wealth, he can't even bring water. What's the matter? Bhim, you go find out what's happening. So he sent Bhim. Bhim went there with his big club. He saw the same thing. His brother is lying dead, but he was so thirsty. He went to drink water. Again, the bird, this kun belongs to me. Don't drink without answering my questions. And Bhim thought, who's going to stop me? And he drank and he died. When no one came back, then Yudhishthira finally himself, he couldn't imagine. Find water, or as I ran into some trouble, he was very worried. He went there, he saw his all four brothers lying. The senses are so strong, he just wanted to drink water. He was lamenting, but he was thinking, I just... And the bird told him, this kun belongs to me, don't drink water, answer my questions. So, Yudhishthira was a little more calm than the others. He's noted for his calmness. Well, how can I talk to an unembodied voice? So then he took the form of a yaksha, whatever a yaksha is, I don't know, but he took the form of a yaksha standing on top of a tree. And he asked questions in fours. Everything was 4 questions at once. Yudhishthira answered all those questions. One Prabhupada cited over and over again, very famous one. Charjam. What is the most surprising thing? And Yudhishthira answered, Ahani ahani bhutani gacchante yamalayam shesham stavaram icchanti kim ascharjam atakparam. The ahani bhut, everybody sees that everybody's going to the Yamalaya, everybody's dying. Shesham, who's remaining, stavaram, they're thinking, no, I'm not going. Not me, I won't go, I'm staying here. Shesham stavaram icchanti, they're thinking, no, I will stay. No more surprising thing than this. One other question that he asked that's very important for us in being fallen Kali Yuga inmates. He asked him, how do we recognize a Brahmin? By his birth, by his study, by his learning, or by his behavior? A, B, C, D. A, B, C, D. 4-part question. So Yudhishthira Maharaj, that someone may be born as a Brahmin, may not be acting as a Brahmin. Just like, I can remember one time, we were in Hollywood Boulevard doing Harinam Sankirtan in front of a restaurant called Diamond Jim's. Now this restaurant is in Hollywood. The name is Diamond Jim. You can just imagine, we won't say what's being served inside this restaurant. All we can say is Go Mata Ki Jai. And what beverage they're serving in here, sometimes they take potatoes and make them rotten, sometimes hops and make them rotten, sometimes grains and make them rotten. And it tastes so bad, they mix it with something else. And everybody thinks, oh, it is very sophisticated to drink distilled essence of rottenness. So this is what's going on in this restaurant. Now, I was there trying to distribute books, and one person from Bharat came out of the restaurant. This is old days, way back in the early 70s. At that time, whenever anybody from Bharat left Bharat, in the emigration, they would give them a piece of paper. When you meet the Hare Krishnas, this is what to say. Because everybody told me the same, every person I met from Bharat told me the same thing when I tried to distribute a book. I'm from India, I know everything. So I approached him with a book, and he said, of course, I'm from India. Then he pulled out his Brahmin thread. See, I'm Brahmin. Now what he's eating in this restaurant, we don't want to speak in this holy place. What he's drinking there, we just described. Because he was born in Brahmin family, he's thinking he's Brahmin. Then by study, just like we know, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he told Haridas that many people are very learned, but their achar, their behavior is very bad. We see men, especially nowadays, people who are very educated, they like to drink and carry on and do so many things. So one may be courteous in the Shastras, but it doesn't necessarily mean that he's very well behaved. So by his learning, sometimes we see one who becomes very learned, he becomes very puffed up. and cruel. Just like we in the life of Ramanujacharya, his spiritual master was defeated by the king's pandit. Every king had a Digvijay pandit who defeated everyone, and once he defeated, you had to pay. He had no money, he was crying. So he asked, "What's the matter, my dear Gurudev?" And he told, "I owe money and I don't have any money, I have to pay the king's pandit." So then Ramanujacharya, he waited on the path in the morning. He knew the king and the pandit used to walk in the morning in a certain garden. So he approached the pandit, he grabbed some sand from the ground and said, "Panditji, how many grains of sand are in my hand?" The Panditji became very upset. "What type of stupid question is this? Beat this boy, beat this boy." And the king said, "Wait a minute. The rules of debate are, if you can't give the answer, then he has to give the answer." So he said, "All right, how many grains of sand?" He said, "Handful." Grains are there. So he defeated him. Or even more appropriate is our dear friend Natha Muni and Yamunacharya. Yamunacharya was the grandson of Natha Muni, who's very famous in the Sri Sampradaya. And Yamunacharya's guru, same thing. But this guy he was so cruel, though he was very learned, he defeated so many Brahmins and Pandits. If you couldn't pay, then you had to die. So one become very, very learned, but he was cruel, puffed up with his knowledge. So he saw his guru was crying, he asked, "What's the matter?" So when he found out, then he went to the king's palace and challenged the Pandit. The Pandit said, "Well, who's this little boy to challenge me?" The king said, "He's challenging." The king's Pandit's name was Kolahal. So the king gave Ramanuja Jamuna a nice place to stay and guest house. In the morning, the king was walking on his terrace with his queen, and they looked down and they saw Yamuna was sitting walking on the terrace also of his guest house. And the queen said, "What will happen if your pandit is defeated by this little boy?" And the king said, "My pandit is defeated by this boy, I will give him half my kingdom." And the queen was shocked. She said, "I'm going to hold you to your word." The next day, they sat down and the debate began. So one who questions, he has a little bit of advantage. So Kolahal thought, this is a little boy, let him ask the questions. Yamuna, her mother is a barren woman. Now he has to prove that no, your mother was not a barren woman. Now he's there, how is he going to prove that his mother had no child? Because he's there. So he became very angry, very puffed up and angry. He said, "Are, now he wants to insult my mother. You beat him. And the king said, "Wait a minute. The rules are if you can't defeat his proposition, he has to defeat it." So then Yamuna quoted from the Shastra that says that if a woman has only one child, she considered barren. So just so happened that Kolahal was the only son of his mother. All right, next question. Our king is very pious. So now he has to defeat, he has to prove that the king is impious. Now he wants me to insult you, beat him. And the king said, "Wait a minute, I want to hear what he has to say." The king's very interested. He said, "Undoubtedly our king is very pious, but he has to suffer one of the entire praja, his citizens." All right, next question. He said, our queen mother is most chaste. All right, now you beat him. He wants me to prove that he wants me to insult the queen. The queen's interest was piqued. All right, how is he going to prove that I'm... He said, our queen mother is undoubtedly very chaste, but the king is a representative of 5 different demigods. Mother is associating with 5 different men. And she called out, Alabandar, Alabandar. He is conquered. Huh? So he gradually, there's a long story to it, but he became eventually Jamunacharya. Great Acharya in the Sri Sampradaya. So one with, sometimes he becomes very cruel and puffed up. So, birth, study, learning, last one is behavior. Brahman is known by his. So then he had so many questions, Yudhishthira answered all of the questions. He said, now you take as much water as you like, and you can bring one of your brothers back to life. So then he said, all right, I want the Nakul come back to life. And the Yaksha said, what is this? Very soon there's going to be a battle, you'll need the mighty armed Arjun or the great. You're taking this little brother. Why this little brother? It doesn't make any sense. He said, I have two mothers. I am the representative of Mother Kunti in this world, but there's no representative of Mother Madri in this world. So I want the one representative of Madri, so I choose Nakula. So then the Yaksha revealed himself as none other than the father of Yudhishthira himself, Dharmaraj. He said, I just wanted to test you. And then he brought all the five brothers back to life. So this all happened at Dharmkund. Then he has to take some benediction. And Yudhishthira, we don't want any benediction. It's all right, let this deer has stolen away the arni sticks and the staff of the poor rishi. He said, that deer was none other than me, otherwise why you couldn't stop a simple deer? I came to test your righteousness. So all right, we don't want any other. Then I give you the benediction, you will always be on the side of righteousness. So this famous story, this one whole Mahabharata, Yaksha Prashan, the questions of the Yaksha, this took place at Dharamkund. So then the Pandavas, they began to made their camp at Bimalkund. We talked about Bimalkund yesterday. And one thing we forgot to mention about Bimalkund is here we'll find hundreds and hundreds of monkeys. You can't imagine how many monkeys. It's very difficult when we're distributing prasadam and sitting on the shala. We have to people with sticks on all the four sides. There's a reason, because as Bimalkund, we told the story yesterday about the daughters of Maharaj Bimaldev. But we didn't tell the story behind them. Actually, when Lord Ram returned from Janakpur with Janaki, every woman in Ayodhya was a big city. So every woman in Ayodhya wanted to enjoy him like Janaki. But Lord Ram had only Ekapatni Vrat, only one wife. So within his heart, within their hearts rather, he told them, not this avatar, next avatar you'll all come, daughters of King Bimaldev, and you'll become the Ayodhya Vasani gopis. There's so many different groups of gopis. Just like we remember Lord Ram met the rishis in the forest, they all desired also go conjugal rasa. He said, next lifetime you'll become the Rishi-chari gopis. And the Shrutis also, they became the Shruti-chari gopis. So these are all so there's some connection with Ram Leela, so there's lots of monkeys in this place. Maybe not when the Pandavas made their camp there, because it was a very beautiful place. So what happened was in Hastinapur, Durvasa Rishi came with 60,000 disciples. And Duryodhana knew the power of Durvasa Rishi. He fed him a wonderful feast and all his disciples. And he knew the power of this Rishi. He's very easily pleased and very easily upset. If he becomes upset, he can curse you to become a toad. Asked Duryodhana what benediction you want. He said, I don't want any benediction. My brothers, the Pandavas, they're there in the forest of Kamyavan. So you please go there and visit them and give them the opportunity to serve you. But you must go after Draupadi has taken her meal. Now Duryodhana knew that Draupadi had received a Akshay Patra, special pot from the sun god. But until she ate, it would give unlimited amount. So the Pandavas had no difficulty in their 14 years of exile. Unlimited amounts of food. Once she ate, then it would stop until the next day. So he said, you go after Draupadi has taken her meal. Means 60,000 disciples are going to descend on Yudhishthira Maharaj in the forest. What are they going to do? I was telling this story when the Vaishnava Academy for Girls from Alatra said, no problem, we'll call your wife Akuti. So, anyway, so he went there to Kamyavan, he came to Bimalkund. Yudhishthira Maharaj, he saw Duras Rishis there with his 60,000 disciples. So he told him, you go take your bath and we'll prepare a nice meal for you. Then he went to Draupadi. And Draupadi said, but I've already eaten, there's nothing, now what are we going to do? And since the Pandavas, they only know Lord Krishna whenever they're in trouble. So she began to meditate on Devakinandan. Devakinandan appeared on the spot and immediately said, oh Draupadi, I'm famished, I'm so hungry, give me something to eat. And the weapon of the woman is tears. She began to cry, but that's the problem, Duras Rishis here with 60,000 rishis and we have nothing, I've already eaten from my pot. Lord Krishna said, just bring me that pot, let me see if something's still there. And he found a little piece of spinach. And Krishna took that little piece of spinach, oh Draupadi, now I'm full. Because Krishna told in Bhagavad Gita, Patram Pusam Palam Toyam Yome Bhaktya Priyachati. If one offers me a leaf, so she offered a little spinach leaf. If it's offered with love, then Krishna says, I'm fully satisfied. And Krishna is the soul of the entire universe. He's the root of the entire creation. So when Lord is satisfied, then all the aquatics are satisfied, all the animals are satisfied, all the humans are satisfied, all the demigods, the whole universe is satisfied. So there was Duras Rishi and his 60,000 disciples taking bath, and suddenly, boom, they felt completely full. And we have, in Spanish, we have a special word for this after the Sunday feast. Uy, Prabhu, muy bloqueado. I think you can understand without knowing Spanish. Bloqueado. And everybody said, oh man, I couldn't eat anything. Yeah, he must have made a nice feast. What are we going to do? So then Devakinanda told Bhim, you go there and call Duras Rishi and his disciples. And everybody's wondering what's going on. So Bhim put his on his shoulder and he's walked out to the river. From a distance they saw Bhim coming looking very grave. Now if they go there and they don't eat anything, it will be a big insult. Now what are we going to do? So Duras Rishi says, let's get out of here. So they, without even drying their cloth, without even putting their cloth properly, just wrapped their cloth, wet cloth, and they ran through the forest, and Bhim couldn't find anybody, and the Pandavas were saved. We all know this pastime, but it happened here at Bimalkund in another pastime that happened there in Bimalkund was that when Duryodhana's plan failed, then he got a big brother and decided to attack his brothers in the forest, because they have known in the forest they won't be able to defend themselves. So Lord Indra, his son is Arjun. He didn't want to live as defeated. He sent his chief Chitragupta. And Chitragupta came and he immediately attacked the Kauravas. A huge battle was there, captured Duryodhana. And Duryodhana was crying and crying, captured, being tied up by Chitragupta like that. So Yudhishthira, he heard the crying of his cousin brother, and so immediately they got their weapons and they found Chitragupta was there. So immediately they said, prepare to fight. And they started a big fight, and Arjuna especially was fighting with Chitragupta, and huge battle was there. Each one, no one admitting defeat. So finally Chitragupta admitted defeat. He said, what's the matter? Your enemy is Duryodhana, and he's also my enemy. So we both have the same enemy. And Yudhishthira said, look, My Dhritarashtra, my grandfather Dhritarashtra, uncle, he had 100 sons. My father Pandu had 5 sons. But if somebody attacks from the outside, we're 105. Fight amongst themselves for different political reasons. That's another thing. But if somebody attacks us from the outside, then we become, instead of 105, we become 105. So then he told Gupta to release Duryodhan. Duryodhan was furious. He was humiliated like anything. He was like a snake, poisonous snake. He couldn't stand it. And Yudhishthira told him that if you ever have any trouble, then don't fail to call on us. Oh, hearing these words, he was totally humiliated. So this also famous Leela happened here at Kund. Then remember, one of the allies of the Kauravas was Jayadrath.
The function is not very good today, so maybe we can continue.
Well, that's just Jayadrath. So Jayadrath, he found Draupadi wandering in the forest in Kamyavan. Immediately he grabbed her and tried to kidnap her, and the Pandavas thrashed him like anything, gave him a good lesson and saved Draupadi. So all of these famous pastimes happen here at Bimal Kund. So this ends the inside Prikam of Kamyavan. We told so many places. There's the inside. Tomorrow we'll go. It's described that there's 84 kund, 84 singasans, 84, so many places. So we'll see some of the different kunds and some very interesting places in outside Prikama of Kamyavan. So we're sorry for the trouble in transmission today, but tomorrow we'll solve all these problems. So 65. So we thank you very much. We hope you're all well. We'll meet here again tomorrow at 6 o'clock. Hare Krishna. Oh, and the temple president of our Juhu temple, Rasbihari temple, we just got the word that Brajahari Prabhu has got corona. So we ask you all to pray for Brajahari that he become completely cured of this coronavirus. So thank you very much. Hare Krishna.